Hello everyone. In continuation to previous lesson on nutrition, today we will particularly study about autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, and so many other things. Now let us quickly go to autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition, the definition is, it is a type of nutrition in which the autotrophic organisms synthesize their own food from water, carbon dioxide, in the presence of sunlight. So this is a standard definition of autotrophic nutrition. It is a type of nutrition in which the autotrophic organisms synthesize their own food from water or carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight. I will show you a rough idea how the plants are able to absorb carbon dioxide and how they are able to release oxygen, and meanwhile how they are able to make their own food. Suppose this is a plant leaves. Suppose this is a plant leaves, right? It's a tree, right? There's a roots downwards, right? So here there is a sunlight. Right? Please understand this concept. The sunlight, when the sun emits light, the sun rays, the light energy falls on the plant leaves, right? And because of this falling, there's a splitting of molecules, right? And you should understand that the water comes from the underwater, underground water. There's an underground water below the roots. So because of some theory, you will understand, we'll study this about this theory in class 11 and 12. There's a transpiration pool of water in the upwards, right? And because of this pulling of water upwards from the underground water by the roots, by the plant roots, the water goes up here, and the water is spread into every part of tree, right? And carbon dioxide is emitted from the automobiles, burning of fossil fuels, and from external sources, from environmental sources. The oxygen is absorbed by the plant, right? And then because of this absorption of carbon dioxide and the water which is already in the plant, there is a splitting of carbon dioxide and water, right? As there is a light energy falling on the plant leaves, and because of that, carbon dioxide and water is splits into glucose, byproduct oxygen, and water, right? And that's how the plant makes their own food. The light energy, from the sun converts into chemical energy. Okay. In the form of glucose or sugar. Please understand this concept. the light rays which falls on the plant splits carbon dioxide and water, and it makes into glucose, and the oxygen is emitted out into the atmosphere, and that's how we breathe air. So this is the whole idea about how plants are able to make their own food. And this process is in another form. It's also we can say that it's a photosynthesis taking place now. So I will show you the chemical formula of photosynthesis and the definition of photosynthesis also. But this whole idea is all about how the plants are able to make their own food. Glucose. This glucose, which is manufactured, which is formed by the splitting of carbon dioxide and water, it helps in the growth and development. It helps in the growth and development of plant. That's how the plants are able to bear fruits, and many other things. They're able to, sustain their own lives without getting help for food survival from the other external source, So this the whole idea is about how the plants are able to make their own food. Now we will study about photosynthesis. It is the process by which green plants makes I will show you a rough idea how the plants are able to absorb carbon dioxide and how they are able to release oxygen, and meanwhile how they are able to make their own food. Suppose this is a plant. Plant leaves. Suppose this is a plant leaves. Right. It's a tree. Right. There's a roots downwards. Right. So here there is a sunlight. Right. Please understand this concept. The sunlight, when the sun emits light, the sun rays, the light energy falls on the plant leaves, right? And because of this falling, there's a splitting of molecules, right? And you should understand that the water comes from the underwater, underground water. There's an underground water below the roots. So because of some theory, you will understand, you'll study this about this theory in class 11 and 12. There's a transpiration pool of water in the upwards, right? And because of this pulling of water upwards from the underground water by the roots, by the plant roots, the water goes up here, and the water is spread into every parts of tree, right? And carbon dioxide is emitted from the automobiles, burning of fossil fuels, and from external sources, from environmental sources. The oxygen is absorbed by the plant, right? And then because of this absorption of carbon dioxide and the water which is already in the plant, there is a splitting of carbon dioxide and water, right? As there is a light energy falling on the plant leaves, and because of that, carbon dioxide and water is splits into glucose, byproduct oxygen, and water, right? And that's how the plant makes their own food. The light energy, from the sun converts into chemical energy. Okay. In the form of glucose or sugar. Please understand this concept. The light rays which falls on the plant splits carbon dioxide and water, and it makes into glucose, and the oxygen is emitted out into the atmosphere, and that's how we breathe air. So this is the whole idea about how plants are able to make their own food. And this process is in another form. It's also we can say that it's a photosynthesis taking place now. So I will show you the chemical formula of photosynthesis and the definition of photosynthesis also. But this whole idea is all about how the plants are able to make their own food. Glucose. This glucose, which is manufactured, which is formed by the splitting of carbon dioxide and water, it helps in the growth and development. It helps in the growth and development of plant. That's how the plants are able to bear fruits, and many other things. They're able to, sustain their own lives without getting help for food survival from the other external source, So the whole idea is about how the plants are able to make their own food. Now we will study about photosynthesis. It is the process by which green plants makes photosynthesis. Sorry for some lapses, some disturbance. I got a receipt from someone, a phone call. We'll really go to photosynthesis. It is a process by which green plants makes their own food with the help of sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. Right. This is a standard definition of photosynthesis. It is a process by which green plants make their own food with the help of sunlight and carbon dioxide and water. So I will show you the chemical formula. CO2, 6 molecular carbon dioxide, 12 molecular water gives Ch-6 12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. Right. And the site where the photosynthesis takes place is chlorophyll, in the presence of sunlight. This is a standard chemical formula of photosynthesis. In the exam, if you write this sentence, if you write this answer definition along with this chemical formula, you'll face a good marks. The examiner will give you good marks. Now we will see the events that occur during photosynthesis. Right. When the light energy falls on the green plants, there is a splitting, there is a splitting of carbon dioxide, water into glucose, oxygen, chemical formula we've already seen about photosynthesis. So the events that occur during photosynthesis, number one is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Number 2, conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. And the third event is reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. This carbohydrate is talking about glucose, which the plant use for their own growth and development, right? So these three events that take place during photosynthesis, this is very important. If you are being asked about the photosynthesis, you write down the definition, you write down the chemical formula of photosynthesis along with these events. If you mention these three events that occur in the photosynthesis, then the examiner will give you good marks. Now, before we go further, I would like to make this clear about the site where photosynthesis takes place. Right. I want to make this clear that in green plants, suppose this is a green plant. This is a plant leaf. Right. This is a plant leaf. This is a Madrid, lamina or leaf blade, and vein. This is vein. And here there is a chloroplast here. Right. There, if you watch with the microscope, in microscope the green dots, are cell organelles. When you focus a green plant with a microscope, you will see a green dots, which is it's a very microscopic in nature, and that cell organelle is none other than chloroplast. So in the chloroplast, suppose this is a chloroplast structure. This is a chloroplast structure. Okay, this is a chloroplast structure. This is cell membrane. Right. There's a piling up of thylakoid membrane. In the thylakoid membrane, there are some green pigments, chlorophyll. Okay, this chlorophyll, it gives green color to the sun, gives green color to the plant leaves, and also it helps in the process of photosynthesis, right? But if a teacher and any teacher, or when you write in an exam, you should say that the photosynthesis actually it takes place in chloroplast, not in chlorophyll, right? So you should always understand the difference between chlorophyll and chloroplast, right? This chloroplast is a green pigment. Okay, and this is a cell organelle. Okay, chloroplast is a big structure. Right? Inside there is some thylakoid membrane where there is chlorophyll. Right. So you can say that the photosynthesis takes place in chloroplast. Okay, not in chlorophyll. Right. But the standard answer will be chloroplast. It is where the photosynthesis takes place. It doesn't take place in chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment, which is inside the chloroplast. Okay, but in the chemical formula of photosynthesis, there is C6O2 plus H2O, right? C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. In the standard formula, here it is chlorophyll is given. Don't be confused with why there is no chloroplast. But in actual sense, if you go to deep down, that photosynthesis, actually it is taking place within the periphery, within the not in the periphery, within the surface of chloroplast. This chloroplast, inside it is taking place photosynthesis, and the place, the deep place where the photosynthesis takes place is chlorophyll, right? That's why in the chemical formula, in the standard chemical formula, chlorophyll is written, not chloroplast, right? This is a standard formula. But in actual sense, the place where, the site where photosynthesis takes place is chloroplast. Now we will see gaseous exchange, okay? Gaseous exchange. Gaseous exchange in plants. Like, imagine how this carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plant, alright? And how this oxygen is emitted by the plant, right? In the plant leaves, I have told you that there's a chloroplast also, and there's a one structure right in the leaf, which is by the name stomata. Right. This is stomata, which is in the plant leaves. It helps in the absorption of carbon dioxide and in the emission of oxygen. Right. So that's how the gaseous exchange. Gaseous means carbon dioxide and oxygen. That's how the gaseous exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen takes place. Now I will show you the structure of stomata. The rough structure. This is a structure of stomata. Right. Stomata, and these those things are chloroplast. And this structure, this beans-like structure, the beans-like structure is guard cells. And this is this structure, this hollow structure, this empty space is stomatal. Alright, so the gaseous exchange takes place in the plant leaves through a pore, which is stomata, through a pore in the plant leaves, the gaseous exchange, the oxygen, carbon dioxide will come in and oxygen will go out. Normally this takes place during daytime. In nighttime, the plant will not be able to take this, and the plant doesn't go photosynthesis, because daytime only the sunlight comes out and gets out of photosynthesis takes place. So the carbon dioxide comes in and oxygen goes out through a pore. Okay, stomata are tiny pores. These are tiny pores which is present in plant leaves, and massive amount of gaseous exchange. This gaseous exchange, carbon dioxide and oxygen, takes place through the small pore called stomata. Okay, so this stomata is opening this guard cells. It opens during daytime. Okay, this structure is very complicated, and you will study in higher classes like class 11 and 12 in botany when you study BSc also. But as for now, you understand this small concept. You just that like carbon dioxide comes in and oxygen goes out through the opening of this guard cells. The guard cells opens during daytime, right, and close during nighttime. And because of this opening of guard cells, exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen takes place. Oxygen goes out and carbon dioxide takes it. Alright. So this gaseous exchange which takes place in the plant leaves, it's very important, because you should know that how the carbon dioxide is taken in by the plant, right, and oxygen is emitted out. So this structure is important. Now we will quickly go to heterotrophic nutrition. It is a type of nutrition in which organisms depends upon other organisms for food to survive. Examples are bacteria, fungi, cows, human beings. Alright, this is a standard definition of heterotrophic nutrition. It is a type of nutrition in which organism depends upon other organisms for food to survive. Right? Examples are bacteria, fungi, cows, human beings. Right? Heterotrophic means depending upon other organisms for food. Right? Suppose we human beings, we do not make our own food like plants do. You know, plants, the green plants which are autotrophic, they make their own food, and that's how they grow, that's how they bear fruits. But we human beings, we take food from other organisms. Okay, we take meat, we take rice, all those things that comes from external sources. Okay, we do not make it. It comes from other sources. We depend on other organisms. Okay, so we are heterotrophic because we take food from other sources. Right? Now we will see a nutrition in amoeba. Right? In heterotrophic nutrition in amoeba and nutrition in human beings is very important. Okay. Now we will see how does nutrition in amoeba takes place. You know that amoeba is a unicellular organism. Okay, unicellular organism. So this is amoeba structure. Right. It's amoeba structure. So this is an amoeba structure, and here it's a nucleus is there. It's a nucleus, and this is the food particles. Now we will see how the amoeba takes these food particles. Right. So amoeba has a very peculiar property, you know. from here. Amoeba has a peculiar property. It has one finger-like extensions. Yeah, this is the finger-like extensions called pseudopodia. Pseudopodia. Okay, these are finger-like extensions. Oh, it's to our finger, you know. Amoeba has a very peculiar structure, you know, which is pseudopodia. Because of this, they are able to engulf. They are able to engulf the food particles. Suppose this is the food particles. Okay, the amoeba attach. The amoeba grab the food particles. These two tentacles have this finger-like structure. These are movable. It has a motile characteristics. It is able to move, you know, and that's how it grabs the food particles. Right, the food particles was actually it was here, but because of this structure, finger-like structure, which is called pseudopodia, it grabs the food particles and takes into the entire surface of amoeba. Right. Nucleus. There's a nucleus. Only one nucleus will be there because it's unicellular organism. Right. So this is a food particle. Here the food is already taken inside by the pseudopodia, right? Pseudopodia, finger-like expressions, but in the amoeba, no, and it is grape and it is taken inside. This place is called food vacuole. This is food vacuole, and this is food particles, right? And this is a mature structure. After the amoeba already take the food particles, you know, the food is already consumed by the amoeba, and this is a mature structure of amoeba. So this is how the nutrition in amoeba takes place. Amoeba is a unicellular organisms, right? Unicellular organisms, they have a very peculiar, they have a very different property called as pseudopodia. Because of this pseudopodia, they are able to grab foods. They are able to eat foods by grabbing the food through the pseudopodia, right? And it takes in and it goes to the food vacuole, right? So this whole process, it's very important in the nutrition amoeba. You will learn about this in higher class, but as for class 10, this process, how the amoeba, the unicellular organisms, you know, the small microscopic unicellular organisms are able to take their own food, right? And now we will see nutrition in human beings. Before we go to a little bit much broader details, I would like to show this diagram. You know? This diagram, in this diagram you can see in a human body. It's a rough sketch. So normally when we take food, the food made rice or any kind of fruits, apple, anything, the food that we take, we take it through our mouth, right? So from the mouth itself, it will go to the oral cavity, right? In the oral cavity. So with the help of tongue, with the help of teeth, the complex food particles that we eat are being chewed, we are through mastication process. So we masticate the food particles into smaller particles with the help of salivary glands. The salivary glands release some enzymes called as salivary amylase. This helps in converting of larger molecules, into starch, into smaller particles. So the food that we eat, it goes to the oral cavity with the help of teeth and salivary glands. The food is being chewed with the help of teeth and all. So after that, the food will go down to the esophagus. This is a food pipe. Here is also a trachea, you will study this in higher class. You will study in higher class. This is a trachea. It helps in breathing, while we breathe. So this is not required. But as you can see, this is the whole, the tube, the food pipe. This food pipe, with the help of this food pipe, we are able to, put down the food that we eat. The food that we eat goes down to our stomach. And there is a pressure. There is a pressure changes. There is a peristaltic movements. There's a pressure changes. There's pushing down of food, complex food particles to the stomach is regulated by peristalsis. With the help of peristaltic movements, the food goes directly towards the stomach. And from there, digestion takes place. So many hydrochloric acid, in gastric juice, all those things are involved in digestion of food, And after that, it will go to the small intestine. The small intestine, there's a duodenum, duodenum is there, smaller intestine is another part of the stomach. So from the duodenum, it will go to the smaller intestine. This is the smaller intestine, right? In here, smaller intestine, mainly the complete digestion, complete digestion of food particles, complete digestion of food takes place here. It is further broken down. The carbohydrates are broken down. The proteins is our food, which contain numerous kinds of nutrients, different kinds of nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, unsaturated fatty acids. All those things are broken down here in this smaller intestine. Okay, small intestine. And from there it will go, the food will go to the large intestine, and last it will go out from the anus. This part is anus. It will go out through the anus. The passing of stools, we call paikana in Nagamese. The passing of stools takes place through anus. This is a small part, is called rectum. Upper part of anus is called rectum. All these things you will study in higher class 11, 12, when you go to zoology, and even if you go for medical studies, you will learn all these things, anatomy and all. But as for now, for your class 10 standard, you should know this diagram. You know the digestive tract, how the food are being broken down in smaller particles in various stages, coming from the mouth to the esophagus. This is food pipe, esophagus, stomach, from the stomach to small intestine, large intestine. From the last, the food ingested out. The food is removed through the anus. Right? I hope you understand this concept. In your class 10 book, in the chapter Nutrition in Human Beings, complex, it is written in a very complex manner, in a very complicated manner, right? But I have to, write down in this flowchart manner, how the nutrition, how the food that we take goes through various, organs, mouth, from the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, from the rectum, and then from the last in the anus, right? So the food that we take goes through various organs, and it is where digestion takes place. Digestion takes place mainly in stomach and small intestine. So in the exam, instead of writing in an essay, instead of writing in a sentence, instead of writing in a paragraph manner, if you write this in this manner, flowchart, it will be much tidy, and you will fetch good marks. So here, as you can see, I will explain you a little bit here. The food that we take, food that we take goes to mouth. In the mouth there is a salivary glands, right? The salivary gland secretes salivary amylase, saliva. The salivary gland secretes saliva, and the saliva went on to secrete salivary amylase, and this salivary amylase change starch into sugar, right? Change starch into sugar. And starch is a larger part, it is a carbohydrate, larger part of food, bigger food, complex molecules. It is transformed into sugar, right? For the better digestion purpose. And with the help of teeth and tongue, it is chewed. The teeth helps in chewing and grinding the food, and the tongue helps in rolling and tasting of food, right? And from the mouth, the food will go down to the esophagus. It is a food pipe, and the going down, the going down of through the food pipe is regulated by the peristalsis. Peristaltic. There's a peristaltic movements that, in the esophagus. Because of that, the food goes down. Imagine why does the food doesn't go upward? Why it is not regurgitating back? Why it is going down? It's because of peristalsis that the food goes smoothly through the esophagus. So in the esophagus also here some events happens. Food from the mouth moves towards esophagus, which is regulated by peristalsis. The peristalsis is a contraction and expansion of alimentary canal. Alimentary canal itself is the esophagus. Right? Don't be confused with that. So in the esophagus, the food is going towards the stomach, and in the stomach there are some juices secreted by the stomach, gastric juices. The gastric juices are pepsin. These are enzymes. Pepsin helps in breaking down, so breaks down protein. Alright, and hydrochloric is also secreted by the gastric juice, and then mucus also secreted. These all things, these enzymes help in the breaking down of larger food particles into smaller particles, so that it can produce energy, and the energy will go towards various parts, and that's how we are able to do work with the help of the food that we take. With the help of after digestion only, the food breaking down into smaller particles, and that smaller particles gives us energy, right? And the feces, which is unwanted parts are thrown out. Okay, and then this in the stomach, these things happen, and after that the food goes to our small intestine. It is a site of complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Remember this point. And from the liver also secretes bile juice. Bile juice helps in the breaking down of fats. Alright, pancreas also helps in. This is the pancreas. This smaller structure which is situated below the liver. It is the pancreas. Right, and here it is liver. This liver secretes some bile juice, and pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. And from there, after this, all these things happens in intestinal enzymes, carbohydrates, and with the help of intestinal enzyme, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, fats are broken into fatty acids and glycerol, proteins are broken down into amino acids. Right, and the pancreatic juice that is secreted from the pancreas helps in the breaking down of proteins into pepsin. Okay, pancreatic juice further secretes trypsin, and the trypsin breaks down proteins into peptin. Okay? And another enzyme secreted by pancreatic juice is lipase. Lipase helps in breaking down emulsified fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay? And from the small intestine it goes to large intestine. Large intestine mostly absorption of excess water. The water which is mixed with the food, food particles, the already broken down particles, food particles. Large intestine, it plays a role in absorbing the excessive amount of water from the food particles. And also the dried, our dung, our stools, are egested away from the anus, and from the large intestine it will go to rectum. From the rectum to anus, egestion or removal of feces takes place. Feces means stools. We say in Nagamis paikana, this paikana, this feces is egested out through the anus. So I hope you understand this concept. This is very, very important, very, very important in the exam point of view. Right? Make sure you write this in this manner. If you are being asked in the exam to write down the nutrition in human beings, then if you write this in this manner, in this flowchart manner, the examiner will be very impressed with you, and he or she will give you handsome marks. He or she will award you very handsome marks, because it gives visual impression. Flowcharts give visual impression. So I hope you are clear with this nutrition in human beings, this flowchart, all these things.